Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is Carb Day, and that means final practice for the 109th running of the Indy 500. Welcome to IndyCar on Fox. As we sit on board with Alex Palou, thanks to the Fox Driver's Eye, a phenomenal experience to sit inside the cockpit and see precisely what the drivers see here at the greatest spectacle in racing.
I just love this camera that we've managed to get in there. It gives you such a good sense of kind of how limited the view really is from inside the cockpit, what the drivers can see, what they're focusing on. You see Palou there just trying to keep the left side of his front wing below the car in front to get that clean air. I think that's Louis Foster. You see the rookie stripe, that neon around the attenuator and the rain light. That indicates that he is a rookie at the 500.
Outside, outside clear.
I mean, simply the most realistic view that I've ever seen on board in IndyCar. You also appreciate just some of the tiny imperfections of tear-offs on the windscreen. Little things, you know, like right up here, you just see a little bit of bubbling there on the tear-offs. And, you know, sometimes that can create a little bit of glare for the driver, but this is simply a perfect representation of what I saw in 10 Indy 500s. It's amazing. I find it very mesmerizing. It really makes me feel like I am not just on board, but literally in the helmet, and that's exactly where that camera sits.
Does it make you guys miss it when you see this angle?
Absolutely. This feels so familiar. The sound, you just hear the resonance of the engine kind of grinding through the corners, watching the adjustment from Alex Palou's hands. I can feel the load through the steering wheel, James. It gives me sweaty palms.
And the bumps on the racetrack, they're so subtle, imperceptible from outside of the car, barely noticeable even from this view. You look at the white line. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly arced. There's imperfections in that as well. That's something you notice as a driver. You don't really notice it from the TV cameras outside. It's all these little things, those wings and wheels on the walls of the exit of 2 and 4 that are kind of good reference points for how you track out.
And it starts today. If someone's high willpower, that is not where you want to be at the exit of turn 1.
And you know how high he is in turn 2.
What is he doing here?
Leaving lots of room for the cars behind. That's an interesting situation.
Is he testing the groove for the high line for the start? Because willpower coming from the last row, maybe he wants to get an eye, you know, sort of an eye line or a visual on what it's going to be like.
Yeah, he's still hanging up there. Look at that.
That's cool. I like that.
I'm not sure we've ever seen somebody in practice voluntarily without a car on the inside of them doing that.
If you're going to do it now while the track is pristine and clean at the start of practice. But if we see the 12 going big on the opening lap Sunday, we'll credit this right here. That's a clever move. KG veteran right there.
Scott Dixon. Goodness me, there's a throwback. Scott Dixon putting the move on Lundgaard. Oh!
And splitting Felix Rosenqvist, who was coming out of the pits. This is something you're going to see on race day, guys. That was a great move from Dixon. He used the double draft there off Lundgaard, who's getting off Rosenqvist. They split him. Poor Froze in the middle there, just the meat in the sandwich. Or the hot dog in the bun, maybe more appropriately today.
For Carb Day, that's very appropriate, my friend.
And there's just another replay of when we saw Power there. Or sorry, this is the same replay. So they get around Power and then around Fro.
This is, again, we talked about the hundreds of little things that have to go right at Indy. That is such a perfect example at the long-term consistent relationship that Scott Dixon has had with his spotter down in turn 3. Trust him implicitly to give him the air traffic control down the back straightaway and do it with total confidence to make the move and understand exactly where the competition is running.
Alexander Rossi's only done 5 laps, and the car is not on pit lane. It's gone back to the garage, but not a major issue. Ed Carpenter did have to change a hybrid unit this morning they discovered wasn't working properly, but that's not it. It's a water leak. And Tim Broyles, their team manager, said this should be a relatively quick fix, and they will be back out to get some practice done. And Rossi said, we don't have a lot to do. The race car is really good. Just one thing we want to try today.
Not a happy day for ECR. Rossi back to the garage. Georgia, what's going on with Rasmussen?
Yeah, 2 ECR cars probably not getting as many laps as they would like to today. A CV boot came out of place on the 21 car, so they were putting that back into place and cleaning it up. He went out for one more lap and then pulled back in, but it seems like shortly they'll be getting back out there for Christian Rasmussen.
That's what happened to Alex Palou last week, and it dumps a bunch of grease out the back of the car. So, guys, these things are stripped way down and rebuilt for Carb Day typically, and so far early on here, a couple pretty significant teething issues, and some lucky drivers to again have that stuff spotted on pit lane.
You know, knows that you don't need to start up front to win this race. He won it from back in 19th in 2014. As we see this tight moment, Takuma Sato on the outside of Rinus VeeKay, who's just out of the pits, getting up to speed.
Takuma.
Now here's dicey move, but what I like about it is he did leave Rinus that half a car width once he got in front of him to leave a bit of clean air on the wing there. If he'd cut all the way down, that could have been bad for the 18.
Excuse me, did you say a 1/10 of a car width? Because that's what it looked like to me.
Once he was past him.
But that was
very close.
That was extremely close, and that's what we've come to expect from Takuma Sato around here, is razor thin margins, hugely aggressive and sometimes unpredictable on the track, but he'll come off the front row to start this thing on Sunday. Age 48 and swinging just as hard as he did when he showed up as a rookie here.
Watching my screen to the left of me, I can see once again that our pole sitter, Robert Schwartzman, is out at the front of this pack, stretching his legs, practicing what it feels like to lead an entire field around. Guys, that's all well and good, but how much practice does Robert Schwartzman need right now in the pack, figuring out how to fight through the pack on what will be his first ever Indianapolis 500?
As much as possible, in my opinion. You know, running out front as we see four drivers 2 by 2 heading into turn 1. Everyone sorts themselves out, but no, if I'm Robert, if I'm their team, you know, I'm trying to get him further back in traffic. Running out front is great, but it's relatively easy for these guys compared to what they were up to all last weekend.
Newgarden's going to blast past Graham Rahal here, and if you're Alex Palou up ahead, you're checking your mirror and going, oh man, is this what's going to happen in the race? Palou has so many rows separating him from Josef Newgarden coming from the back, but we all think that maybe by half distance we're going to see this. Newgarden catching Palou and then carving his way to the front.
And Josef having to get way out of it for a slow car on the inside. I think that is maybe Robert Schwartzman.
Yeah, I think Schwartzman's dropping back now.
Trying to drop back.
Come and have a play with Josef.
He's lost the rest of the field in front, so it's not really representative for him. He'll get passed by Newgarden here and start shuffling his way a little bit further back.
It's a small example of a rookie getting it wrong in terms of how to come out and blend with traffic. He was going so slow down the front straightaway. Luckily, Newgarden got the information. But think about the lift that Newgarden just had a lap ago and how quickly he has already caught the pack. Guys, the 2 car is an absolute rocket ship. This is the car to be. I know he's coming from the back. Long odds to just stay clean and survive the start. But if he does, this guy is going to be coming like nothing we've never ever seen before. Both drivers, total transparency as Graham Rahal has all kinds of fluid coming out the left rear.
I think
that looks like a fairly serious issue with the back of that race car.
Doesn't sound good.
Doesn't sound good. He switches the engine off.
Cars running outside.
So we have caution flag out.
Nobody's behind you. Everybody pitted.
Here's a replay of what happened to Graham Rahal out on track. And Townsend Hinch, it was a fairly steady death of an engine.
Yeah,
it
listen
wasn't
here.
An immediate.
Hey, we're smoking.
And Graham wisely grabs the clutch there on the back straightaway to relieve the drive line of all the drag. And if you look closely there on the left-hand side, you can see a small fire. Typically that's oil from something expiring in the engine as he jumps out and can only start to wonder what might be wrong with his race car. Let's go down to pit lane and learn more with Georgia.
And ultimately, Graham had been battling something all session long. What was that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a mechanical failure, unfortunately, and I was telling you right before the session just how this month's gone. It seems like we just are always behind, and you know, things keep happening, and this is yet another one. So we're done for today, unfortunately. And you know, that was my first new set of tires I've had, and I was trying to just kind of get in the pack, but I could tell the car wouldn't stay in the pack, kept getting slower and slower and slower, and finally out of one. I felt it, grind pretty good, and that was that. So, it's just disappointing for our team, for United Reynolds, feels like we can't get caught up here. But, the car was better today, a lot better today, which is a positive. The wind is wreaking havoc today with the crosswind in 3 in particular. But the car felt really good in 2. I was pleased with that, which is key for the race. Just wish we'd get more time.
Do you take those positives to look forward to the race on Sunday?
Yeah, now it is what it is, right? At this stage, you just got to go, and if it's not ideal, it's not ideal. It doesn't really matter now. So, we'll do what we can.
Thanks, Graham.
Now, we've talked about him a little bit, the rookie sensation on the pole, Robert Schwartzman. We have some news about him.
Uh-oh.
Yes, and just listening to his radio, he's 30th, right now on the board, not happy in traffic. So they're making some big changes. They worked on the front wing, swapped that out. They told him to use the weight jacker to help get him more comfortable there. But they said they're doing a big static cross change. You guys can elaborate on what that means. But our pole sitter, the rookie, Robert Schwartzman, on his first oval, trying to get comfortable out there running in traffic. Right now, not so good.
This is not ideal at all. So a static cross weight change, frankly, you would really want to do that back in your garage with the scale pads and make sure that you get everything right. It looks to me like the mechanic at the back of the race car is awaiting the engineers to give the adjustment that they want at the race car. But this is what we talked about on the Monday practice with Schwartzman, was that he was not running deep in the field, James. He would either lead or run second. And you have got to figure out what your car feels like if you're 7th or 8th. Even if you don't ever drop back position-wise, you can come up on lap traffic, and you need to know what it's like in really bad air.
And look, over 500 miles, you're going to be doing 5, 6, 7 stops, a lot of different stints. All it takes is a yellow falling at just the right time for a group to stay out. And even if you're leading when you come in, you might be mired back in 15th, 18th place on a restart, even as the effective leader of the race in a lot of ways. So yeah, it was almost too little too late for Schwartzman in terms of how much time he had to get into traffic and really start getting comfortable.
Guys, we've already seen, we're not even an hour into this thing, there's been a number of issues. If you look at Rossi's problem, Rasmussen, and certainly the issues there balance-wise with Schwartzman, Graham Rahal's engine, and that's just what we know of right now, as everybody is going to be pretty frantic here with 70 minutes to go to try to dial it all in.
And when you don't know, what's happening, it's hard to, close call there from Colin Herta in pit lane.
Big lockup. Kevin, what have you got for us?
So that was about 15 minutes ago. That was before the yellow and red flag for Graham Rahal, and he said the brakes just went to the floor. I just talked with Rob Edwards, the COO, said the brake bias was a little bit off. They don't think there's any kind of an issue, but they're going to use the time just to check through things, and they do want to get some things done. Remember, this is a new car because he crashed early on Saturday. They massively prepared a backup and got it in the show. Monday, Colton said he was surprised how good the car felt, but they still wanted to try some things. 4 sets of tires. One thing they were keeping an eye on, though, is how much they could run at full power with the Honda engines, because they still just want to make sure, because they've had these engines in since last Friday before qualifying, they want to make sure they have plenty to go 500 miles at full strength on Sunday.
7th fastest at the moment is our very own Jack Harvey. Georgia, what's going on down there at Dry Reinbold?
Our very own Hollywood Harvey. The good news, the teammates, Ryan Hunter-Reay and Jack Harvey, currently 6th and 7th. Also, Jack says that his car feels great right now. The bad news, his fuel rig broke. So that handle right there, when you pull it down, it allows fuel to flow out, and a fitting popped off on that. So when they tried to go to fill up the car, fuel would not flow. So they fixed that fitting, but we know that pit stops can make or break an Indianapolis 500. So the silver lining, it's a good thing that they found it in this practice session, but the bad news, it put them down for a couple laps. Jack Harvey 7th on the board right now, though.
That's why the car feels so good. It's light on fuel. Christian Lundgaard's in the McLaren, number 7. I believe we have some news on him as Will Power comes to pits.
Yes, well, Christian Lundgaard, 40 laps in, 25th on the board. So I've been watching this team. They have been working on all 4 corners of the car. He's saying he's just not comfortable out there in traffic. Hearing that quite a bit down here. Great qualifying effort of 8th, but now that he's in traffic, feels like the car is out of the racetrack. Feels like he's sitting on top, and that is not a good, secure feeling when you're running at speeds like this.
I got to point out the wind direction again, guys. Now, this is not the only wind we've had in the last week, but when we had wind like this, it was Saturday qualifying. Completely different race car configuration. This is the first time that they've run in this wind direction at this wind speed in race configuration. And a number of drivers seemingly not too pleased that we saw big changes to teammate Pato O'Ward's McLaren car on pit lane. And I think a number of others also, even Graham Rahal spoke to some of the challenges out there. So this is uncharted territory. Let's listen to rookie Robert Schwartzman, who's going to start from pole but has no experience on an oval. Let's listen.
It felt better to follow. The guys behind me, they catch me and I can't catch anyone. Doesn't matter if I go flat or not.
That's interesting.
Yeah, complaining about not being able to catch people, to kind of, you know, the term we use around here is to suck up to the car in front. You can have a good balance and be flat through the corner, but if you don't feel like your car can really utilize that draft and suck up to the car in front, you're never going to make a pass.
So where is that coming? Running too much downforce, too much dirty air, disrupting the flow to the wings?
The easy answer is yes, too much downforce, which means too much drag, which just means too slow in a straight line. It also makes the hole that you're punching in the air bigger, so it feels like cars can suck up to you easier.
Yeah, we saw the water leak, and the early thought was, Alexander, you'd be able to get back out. Is it more severe? Do you have any chance to get any more practice today?
No, we're done. It was a water pump, and so we actually, someone's driving down from Detroit to replace it because it's such a critical situation at this point. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shame, but you know, I think the car's been good, and we're happy with where we were on Monday. But that's what Carb Day is for, is to find issues like this. But now, yeah, there will be some unknowns going into Sunday, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, luckily he said we don't have much to get done today, and he thinks the race car is good, and it's a good enough car to win again.
Forward as we ride on board, thanks to Allegra with Marcus Ericsson. Let's see how he's braking for pit speed right here.
This is such a cool shot to be able to give you. You can hear the engine go down, and then the dash goes green when he gets below 60 miles an hour. That lets him get off the brake, get back on the throttle. You hold it flat as you come in towards your box. You hit the neutral button, hold the downshift paddle. It goes into neutral.
The other thing that you'll often do for that critical threshold brake zone to the pit speed line, he's checking his brake bias percentage there. You saw with his lower right-hand corner, he went to a page where he could check the brake bias percentage. So he wants to know, am I in the normal window? Do I need to maybe adjust a little bit more to the rear or the front? So really cool stuff from Rosenqvist, thanks to the driver eye, as Felix Rosenqvist in the Sirius XM on board here. 23 laps on his tires, guys. Let's just ride for a lap and see how hard it is to follow as he tries to catch Scott McLaughlin.
And that's something you're going to see in the race too, Townsend. McLaughlin kind of got checked up a little bit by the car in front that peeled off to pit lane. You can't always go flat through 4 when you're trying to come to pits, especially on old tires. So you start cracking the throttle mid-corner, slows you down. That means the car behind has to slow down, and then it's usually the car 2 or 3 back that ends up kind of getting an inadvertent run on the cars in front.
Spray it, spray it. Get out, Ryan.
Ryan Hunter-Reay fights to escape from his car here on Carb Day. A fire at the rear, and thankfully he is clear of the car, calling to his team as he came onto pit lane.
He's trying to reach into the cockpit to hit the fire suppression system. There's a button that drivers can hit. Safety crews there fairly quickly to get that doused, but that was a pretty sizable fire, guy, underneath the bodywork. That's going to be a significant amount of damage.
This is easily the craziest Carb Day practice I have seen since I've been competing here in terms of the number of issues that we've witnessed across both Honda and Chevy teams. Ryan Hunter-Reay luckily able to get out. Now, He has a 3-layer Nomex suit on, fireproof and Nomex underwear, but that is about 18 seconds of flame protection, and Ryan certainly knew the clock was counting as he jumped out. And he's trying to explain to the crew, that is Chase Selman, the team manager.
The AMR safety team, as always, on the scene incredibly quickly. But what foresight and what prescience from Ryan Hunter-Reay to have seen in his mirrors the size of that fire, to have called to the team.
Typically that's going to be oil lighting off, and it certainly looks like it's coming out the right side of the engine bank. And listen, Ryan Hunter-Reay is one of the bigger guys to squeeze into an IndyCar cockpit. Stands about 6'1", 185. Here comes DRR and IMS crew members with fire extinguishers. And the big risk here for the team is wiring looms, all the electronics potentially going up back there under the engine cover, but they did a good job to get it extinguished quickly.
And guys, we've said it before, but we're going to say it again. When you are someone like Rossi, someone like Rahal, or now someone like Hunter-Reay, this is the last chance you have to not just test the car out, but even just make sure that everything is operating correctly, connected hoses, and just look at the fire damage around the engine there. This worst case scenario for Hunter-Reay. This is different than an engine change for Rahal or a water pump failure for Rossi.
Yeah. One guy that we haven't spoken about today, and I feel like we haven't shone enough of a spotlight on him, in that white and blue car, the number 4 car, David Malukas, just putting a move on pole sitter Robert Schwartzman. A brilliant job in qualifying for this young guy, showing phenomenally. Is he an outsider for this?
I mean, look, he's had some really good runs here at the Speedway. He's got an oval prowess, David Malukas does, and he's with a team that, man, would it be not so cool to see them back in victory lane here at the Speedway.
Only 2 previous starts, but what I like about David Malukas for this event is that Team Penske partnership that AJ Foyt Racing, Malukas' team, has now, and the information that Malukas has at his disposal as he looks to make his best finish in his 3rd start.
Pole sitter Robert Schwartzman at the back of the pack. He has both Josef Newgarden and Alex Palou behind him. He's been radioing back to pits.
When you are getting past, it seems like a bigger lift maybe than you need, and is kind of costing you some speed. Can you not be quite so aggressive with the lift so you can stay tighter and not lose so much momentum?
And that's crucial information for this guy to learn, and that's a huge part of racing here at the Speedway. It's not just learning how to time a pass and execute a pass, it's learning how to get past.
But guys, 18 minutes left, and the pole sitter for the Indy 500 is seemingly just learning to perfect the art of running in traffic. I mean, this is a story we're going to be following as everybody now is on track. Well, this is nuts.
Well, he's learning the art of being passed, knowing Robert Schwartzman and seeing the running he's done so far this month. I think he's hoping he's not going to be passed, just running out front and trying to escape.
As a yellow flag comes out, we understand for a toe-in, the 75 of Takuma Sato stranded on the back straightaway. And why?
They'll be coming to you.
Is there something with the rear left?
Certainly looks to be vibrating a bit with the bodywork there.
Just looks to be off at an angle, the rear left.
Well, that's just, I think that's just the rear toe setup, but is this potentially another powertrain issue? We've already seen 2 pretty significant ones today with Graham Rahal and Ryan Hunter-Reay. 1 Honda and 1 Chevy.
Yeah. Talk about being comfortable. Takuma Sato, 2nd fastest, 225.415. Jamie, what do you know about Taku?
Yes, Taku, 2-time Indy 500 winner. He was looking good, sounding good, and then all of a sudden he said, oh no, and his car came to a stop, and that's where he sits now. The team has no idea what he is battling, what happened, why it's shut off. They're going to leave him sit there until the end of the session and bring him back. So not a good look right now for Takuma Sato, who was so happy in this session, as you said, fast 2nd overall.
Watch the right front here for Robert Schwartzman.
There's the wheel nut, falls out, sitting. Now it's behind the tire. Tire changer doing a great job, knowing grab. It was there, reached around, grabbed it.
And live.
And the checker is waved, and that is it. That is all she wrote, gentlemen. The next thing we do is go race the Indy 500.